After losing his wife in an accident, Fernando struggled to raise his children alone, but after a few years, while he was on a trip with the children, he saw his wife on the beach and decided to follow her. Camila lived in a small town, surrounded by serene and enchanting landscapes. In her modest home, she shared an apparently happy life alongside Fernando, her husband. He was a hard-working and dedicated man. His hands calloused from hard work, he supported his family with a modest job in a local factory. Despite financial difficulties, Fernando always made a point of showing his love and affection for Camila and her children, Carolina and Lucas. His love was evident in every act, from the tight hugs to the games in the backyard. However, no matter how much he tried to bring happiness into the home, something seemed to slip out of his hands. While life was apparently flowing smoothly, a feeling of dissatisfaction sneaked into Camila's heart. She began to feel an emptiness, a feeling that something was missing from her life. Secretly, he yearned for a luxurious and extravagant life, where he could enjoy all the comforts that fortune provides. Each night, when she lay next to Fernando, Camila found herself wrapped in dreams of grandeur. She imagined walking on soft carpets, feeling the steering wheel of an imported car between her hands, and enjoying the comfort of an imposing mansion. These desires burned inside her, making her question her current reality and feel increasingly dissatisfied. Despite all the love and dedication that Fernando offered, Camila couldn't see the value of these things. Her eyes were attracted by the brightness of appearances, by the images of a luxurious life that flooded magazines and television programs. For her, Fernando's love and hard work were like fragments of a puzzle that didn't fit with her materialistic ambitions. Ana, Camila's mother, a wise and experienced woman, tried to open her daughter's eyes to what really mattered to her. She knew Camila's desires, and that's why on several occasions, Dona Ana sat with her daughter in her humble kitchen and tried to share her reflections. She begged Camila to value the family she had, reminding her that love, respect, and unity were priceless treasures. However, Dona Ana's words often fell on deaf ears, and her advice was of no use. As Camila's children grew older and became more independent, Camila felt an even greater void in her everyday life. So she decided to look for a job to fill her idle time, and perhaps find a new purpose. That's how she got a position as a secretary at a reputable company in the city, where she could escape, at least temporarily, from the walls of her humble home that bothered her so much. Although the salary was not exorbitant, the work provided financial relief for the family. Camila was involved in her tasks diligently, seeking to stand out and prove her worth. However, the job also became a source of internal conflict, as the luxurious and opulent world that she so longed for seemed even more distant when faced with the reality of the rich and successful people who frequented the company. She witnessed colleagues with designer clothes, luxurious cars, and sophisticated lifestyles. This constant exposure to ostentation only fueled her inner dissatisfaction, making her even more aware of the differences between her current life and the one she believed she deserved. But fortunately, after just a few years of work, Camila received a job offer that would change her entire life. A promotion, a better position, a chance to climb the ranks and finally get the luxurious life she craved. It was a tempting opportunity, but there was a price to pay. Without consulting her husband Fernando, Camila accepted the proposal without hesitation and embarked on a journey that would take her away from her family. Travel for work would be necessary, with the promise of a promising career and a glamorous life. Fernando's heart sank when he learned of Camila's decision. He feared that the constant traveling would take Camila away from her children's lives, that she would become absent and lost in pursuit of her own desires. Fernando tried in every way to make Camila give up on the proposal and asked her to think about her children, but she was blinded by her obsessions and nothing would make her change her mind. The days passed quickly and, on the day of her first work trip, excitement dominated Camila. She could barely sleep, eager to enter the brilliant world she so idealized. Camila packed her suitcase with elegant clothes, wanting to make a good impression in her new surroundings. After quickly saying goodbye to Fernando with a kiss and hugging his children, he left, promising to return in 3 days. As the private jet took off, taking Camila towards her unknown destination, Fernando felt a lump tighten in his throat. A dark foreboding enveloped his soul, but he clung to the hope that everything would be okay. Little did he know that those 3 days would turn into an eternity of pain and suffering. Anxiety consumed Fernando in Camila's absence. He had to go out of his way to take care of the children, taking them to his maternal grandmother's house every morning before going to work. Her routine became a meticulously choreographed dance between family responsibilities and professional obligations. While Camila was traveling, Fernando tried to get in touch with her to find out how she was doing and how her new position was going. But strangely, the phone remained silent and unanswered. Fernando imagined that it could be because she was in another country, and as he is always a patient husband, he anxiously awaited Camila's return. But one phone call was about to change everything. On the third night, on the day that would have been Camila's return, an unexpected call shook Fernando's tranquility. On the other end of the line, a solemn voice announced terrible news. The private jet in which Camila was returning crashed in the high seas, and no signs of life had been found. Fernando's ground seemed to open beneath his feet, and a wave of despair invaded him. He could hardly believe that his beloved wife, mother of his children, had been taken from him in such a tragic way. A wave of despair swept over him, flooding his thoughts and plunging him into an abyss of sadness and uncertainty. It was as if his life had been ripped from his arms in a cruel and merciless instant. The future they had planned together, the shared memories and dreams that fueled their family's happiness, all seemed to have been erased by a relentless fate. Months of mourning followed, where pain and longing became constant companions. Fernando felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, now being a father and mother at the same time. He knew he needed to be strong for them, but inside he was broken. Fernando struggled to support the house and take care of his children alone, facing each day with courage and unwavering love. He clung to Camila's memories like a precious treasure, keeping her alive in his heart. While facing grief, Fernando had no idea what the future held for him. A shocking discovery was about to shake his reality and reveal secrets that would challenge his deepest beliefs. The shadow of truth was about to emerge, launching him on a journey filled with surprising revelations and overwhelming emotions. The years passed. Fernando continued to struggle to provide the best for his children and balance household chores with work. Women appeared in his life, but he didn't want to get involved with anyone, focusing his energy on his children. Over time, the pain of loss eased, but it was clear that the children still missed their mother. Determined to provide a moment of joy for them, Fernando decided to take advantage of his vacation from work to take them on an unforgettable trip. The money wasn't much, but he had saved for years so he could give his children the trip of their dreams. And so, they embarked on a journey to a renowned seaside resort, where the salty breeze and waves crashing on the beach brought a sense of renewal. The radiant sun was reflected in the children's smiles, filling Fernando's heart with hope. The days unfolded in a symphony of laughter and games. Children happily jumped into the crystal-clear pool, built sandcastles on the beach, and had fun on the hotel's toys. Every moment was made the most of, with Fernando by their side, feeling grateful for the chance to create happy memories, even in the midst of adversity. As the night fell, the family gathered around the table, enjoying hearty meals and sharing lively stories. The looks of complicity between Fernando and his children conveyed a deep feeling of unity, strengthening the family bond. On the last day of that magical vacation, Fernando decided to take the children to a famous beach that was close to where they were. Its warm and calm waters were an invitation to everyone who passed by. It was a familiar and well-attended place, where people with more financial resources gathered. Despite initial concerns, he believed his children deserved one last moment of fun before returning to their everyday reality. While the children ran and laughed in the sand, Fernando observed the beautiful landscape in front of him, sitting under an umbrella. It was a beach full of life, where the more fortunate enjoyed the pleasures that money could offer. But then, something unexpected happened. The children came running towards him, their eyes shining with excitement and words tumbling into their childish mouths. They said with conviction that they had seen their mother. Fernando's heart stopped for a moment, unable to process the magnitude of his children's words. Fernando felt a chill run down his spine, a mixture of worry and fear intertwining in his heart. He initially thought that the children were imagining things, fervently wishing for the presence of their absent mother. But as soon as Fernando looked at the place the children were pointing at, he almost fell backwards. From afar, he saw a woman identical to his late wife. She was there, sitting at a kiosk accompanied by a man, her eyes fixed on her, unable to look away. Shock took over her being. That woman was a perfect copy of Camila. But before taking any action, he needed to investigate who that woman was. Worried, but with a calm and controlled voice, he explained to the children that she was just a woman who looked like their mother, and that her mother had become a little star in the sky, and that she was always watching over them from above. The children were confused, but they accepted their father's words, fully trusting his wisdom. Fernando's mind was in turmoil. He wondered who this woman was and why her resemblance to Camila was so disturbing. A sense of urgency came over him, a need to discover the truth behind that apparition. Determined to find out the truth, Fernando quickly took the children back to the resort, and once they arrived, he found a trustworthy maid and explained the situation. He asked her to look after the children for a few hours, as he had an unforeseen issue to resolve. And with his heart racing, he headed back to the beach, determined to find answers. The truth was out there, waiting for him, and he wouldn't rest until he found it. Even though fear haunted him and the consequences were uncertain, Fernando knew that his search for the truth was essential to protect his children. Luckily, the woman was still there, in the same location. Fernando watched her discreetly from a distance, in disbelief at everything he was seeing. His attentive gaze captured every movement and every smile shared. The physical similarity was impressive, which left Fernando intrigued, with several questions in his head. Minutes that felt like an eternity passed as the woman and man stood up and walked towards a car parked nearby. Fernando's heart was beating hard in his chest, fueled by the need to unravel that enigma, to find out if it was really Camila there, alive, and living a life completely different from the one he believed. With extreme caution, Fernando decided to discreetly follow the car leaving the beach. His eyes were fixed on the license plate, and his hands were firmly on the steering wheel. He was determined to discover the truth, whatever the cost. Anxiety coursed through his veins as he struggled to maintain a safe distance, ensuring he remained undetected. The minutes turned into an endless journey, until finally the car entered a luxurious residential area, where huge mansions dominated the scenery. A feeling of perplexity and disbelief filled Fernando's mind when he saw the car enter one of these mansions. Fernando knew he needed to be cautious, that any false move could ruin everything. He decided to come up with a plan to get closer to that mansion and discover the truth once and for all. Intrigued and overcome by a mixture of courage and anguish, Fernando approached the doorman with sudden inspiration. With his mind buzzing with ideas, but desperate for answers, Fernando told the doorman that he had an urgent matter with Mrs. Camila. The doorman said that there was no Camila there, and that the person who lived there was Mrs. Natalia. Disguising his lack of knowledge about the situation and trying to maintain his posture, Fernando apologized to the doorman and said that he had confused the name, but that it was Mrs. Natalia that he needed to talk to. He asked the doorman to notify the woman that there was a man named Michael who was waiting for her at the entrance, and that this was a private and extremely urgent matter. Fernando had given a name different from his, with the hope that the woman would go there. As requested, the doorman notified the woman, who was curious, as she didn't know any Michael. As she waited, the tension in her body was palpable. The uncertainty of what was to come hung over him like a thick fog. When she finally appeared at the mansion's gate and saw Fernando face to face, the surprise on her face was evident. It was Camila, without a shadow of a doubt. Her eyes met, and a flood of conflicting feelings invaded Fernando's heart. The discussion that followed was intense. Fernando expressed his disappointment and disbelief at Camila's betrayal and her choice to abandon her family in search of material wealth. He did not mince words when questioning his motives and pointing out the magnitude of his selfishness. Camila, in turn, tried to justify her actions, but her words fell on deaf ears. Fernando's pain and anger were too deep to be appeased by any explanation. Images of his happy, innocent children echoed in his mind, and he wondered how anyone could abandon all of that on a selfish whim. While he was struggling to raise his children alone, Camila was there living a lie surrounded by luxury and comfort. Camila tried to justify her actions, with teary eyes reflecting the despair in her heart. Her words slipped between her trembling lips, trying to find a breach in Fernando's emotional fortress. But his attempts were in vain, and nothing could justify such cowardice and betrayal. With the discussion reaching its peak, Fernando made the decision to walk away. He said that she would remain dead in their lives, and that when he regretted it one day, it would be too late. The pain in his chest was overwhelming, but he needed to protect his children and ensure that they no longer suffered from the consequences of Camila's actions. Fernando soon realized that everything had been a farce. There was never any job promotion. Everything was a plan for Camila to run away with her boss and live the luxurious life she always dreamed of, not caring about the price she would have to pay to have a life like that. With a last look full of sadness and disappointment, Fernando turned and left the mansion. He knew that, from that moment on, everyone's lives would be irreversibly changed. Camila had made her choice, and there would never be a change or forgiveness. The drive back to the hotel was silent, turbulent thoughts echoing in his mind. Fernando knew that an important decision awaited him: when and how to tell children the truth about their mother. He didn't have all the answers, but one thing was certain. He would do everything in his power to protect his children and preserve their unconditional love. With each kilometer covered, Fernando felt the weight of that revelation on his shoulders. The silence in the car reflected the inner storm he was facing. Upon arriving, Fernando found the children playing, oblivious to the emotional turmoil that was gripping their father. He watched them with a mix of love and concern. He knew he had a responsibility to protect them from the suffering and bitter truth he had discovered. He wanted to keep their mother's image untouched, preserving her memory like a protective angel in heaven. Fernando hugged his children tenderly, sinking into that demonstration of unconditional love. He decided to keep the truth in his heart, at least while they were still children. He didn't want his children to be consumed by the same pain that haunted him. His goal was to create an environment of love and security, where they could grow without carrying the burden of maternal abandonment. The next day, early in the morning, Fernando and his children headed back to the house. Determined not to allow Camila's presence to affect his children's lives and leave deep trauma, Fernando made a courageous decision. He decided to report Camila's deception, revealing to the court that she was pretending to be someone else. After investigations, authorities confirmed Camila's identity, and she was arrested for identity fraud and document forgery. After the episode with Camila, Fernando and his children moved on with their lives. Fernando learned that the truth can be painful, but it can also be a path to growth and healing. He held on to the hope that one day, when his children were ready to face reality, he would be there to support them and help them understand the complexity of human relationships. Thanks for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story and which city you are watching us from. Leave your like and subscribe to our Storyflix Brazil channel so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. Until later.